Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And if you're new here, my name is Hannah. I am a trauma coach who works with Muslim women. I help Muslim women heal from complex trauma and reinvent themselves. So, I get this question a lot, and I think it's a really important question to answer. Makes a lot of sense, right? When people are healing from trauma, man or woman, you want to know what you're doing is actually working. And I have had people who came and decided to work with me, and I'd ask them kind of like, what did you do before applying for coaching? What were you doing to heal trauma? And I'll get answers like, I've been in therapy for years. I used to do I work out, I journal, I do all of these things, but I'm still not like, I don't notice any changes. And so the question is, how do you know if you've actually healed from trauma? If you have not watched video 1 and 2 in this series, then you need to watch that, because this video isn't going to make sense if you don't watch that, because I'm going to be referencing things from that. If trauma affects the nervous system, right, and you're working on healing trauma, you know that you healed the trauma when the nervous system response either disappears or significantly weakens. That's how you know. So going back to the example from the former video of my client who stored her trauma in her jaw, and now her jaw is loose. That shows that she released trauma, but it goes even beyond that. Traumatic experiences and memories, when people think back to them, which is why I despise talk therapy for healing trauma. I get a lot of flack from therapists for saying this, and it's easy to go off of theory, and it can be great. It can be super helpful. If you do talk therapy for trauma, don't say it doesn't work for trauma. That's wonderful, but talk to your clients, talk to the people you're working with. Don't go off of your theories in your books. Speak to your clients and ask, notice, are you re-traumatizing them? Because the clients that are coming to me are coming for a new system in a different way of healing trauma, because they were traumatized by that. And nobody sat there to tell them, hey, it's okay, you can say I don't want to do this anymore. Instead, they were being told that, no, you have to, because this is how mental health therapy needs to look. And I'm not telling anyone don't go to therapy. It's amazing. It's great. It works very well for what it works for. But you have the right to say, I don't want to do this. I don't feel good about this. Can we try another method? And you're allowed to interrogate your therapist about their experience with complex trauma, or clients with complex trauma. So ask them about it. So back to what I was saying, when we think about traumatic experiences, the nervous system reacts. We call this nervous system dysregulation, because what happens is your fight or flight gets kicked on, because your nervous system is sensing, oh, you're about to think about the thing that's dangerous. Is it around? Do we need to brace ourselves for it? And that fight or flight response is very intense in trauma. And so healing from complex trauma means that response. And if you've actually healed the trauma that caused that response, you shouldn't have the reaction anymore. So I'll give an example. I have a client. She's a one-on-one client. And there was a very particular traumatic memory she had been struggling with that it affected her very deeply. It really messed up her mental health, and it was affecting the way she was showing up to work day after day. Because it happened in her training, and she, was comfortable working on it. And so with some people, we go a little more slow, and we're a little more intentional, because they're not ready to integrate that trauma. We'll talk about what that means. But she was ready to work on it, and so we did, and we worked on it in a 1-hour session, and alhamdulillah, by the end of it, that experience that made her chest tight when she thought about it, that made it difficult to breathe, that made her start feeling shaky, that made her heart start racing, by the end of the session, she could look back on that memory and have no reaction. She was laughing about it. Crazy when you think about something traumatizing, that you can laugh about it. Not laugh about it as a coping mechanism, but laugh about it like you feel light about it. She no longer felt that chest tightness or shortness of breath. She felt content with the fact that this had happened. She trusted the will of Allah in it. And then I followed up with her a week later, and she said, SubhanAllah, still, when I think back to this memory, I have no reaction. It doesn't trigger me anymore. And she was mind blown by that. And it's always amazing to me as I see it, because I just love watching, this women reach these places, the women that I'm working with. But it also blows my mind, because even though I've seen this 100 times, doing this work with the ladies, it's still so incredibly, it's so incredible. It's so incredible, subhanAllah, how Allah created the brain. And so that's how you know if your trauma is healed. You no longer have the emotional reaction as intensely, and the physiological reaction, what happens in your body, the heart racing, the chest tightness. It looks different for different people, but because trauma stores itself in the body, that reaction is there, even if you don't know it. If you don't know it, your mind-body connection is just not strong enough, and that needs to be built up. That's a big part of the work that I do with my clients, because otherwise you're not going to be able to tell your body's cues. And so that's how you know. If you have been going to, work with a coach or a therapist or whoever, and by the way, not all coaches are mental health trained, so please be very mindful of that. And also, not all therapists are trauma informed, so ask them. If you're working with them particularly for trauma and you have trauma, ask them if they're trauma informed. If you find yourself working for many, many years and things are not improving, and you're not, noticing what I just discussed, then it's time to have a conversation on the strategy and possibly look to another way to work through your trauma. And it is also super important for me to say that trauma is also complex. While we're able to release really big core memories, and that affects other traumatic memories, and kind of heal and integrate that trauma, if you've been experiencing trauma for many, many years, it can take a bit of time to heal that and fully get your nervous system to a place where it's healthy. And there are lots of different mechanisms and adjuncts that can be added, some of which I recommended on my Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, by the way, you can go, my username should be on there. I do lives. I post a lot of content on this, on healing trauma. But some things I've recommended are, in addition to doing the trauma healing work and integration, is ashwagandha, which is a really great supplement. Please make sure you do your research on it, because some people can't take it. For example, if you're a pregnant woman, you should not be taking ashwagandha. And things like acupuncture, massage therapy can be really great. Hijama can be really great. While these are not going to release trauma, they're going to really help your nervous system be in a primed and healthy place to be able to handle your trauma and the processing of your trauma. So this is a much shorter video, but it's a short answer. So I hope that this is helpful. And if you like this video, hit like, subscribe for more, and watch the other videos in the series if you haven't already. And if you're looking for a trauma coach, again, links in the description about how to work with me. I'm accepting clients for the next cohort of my trauma group coaching program. So nice to talk to you guys again. Assalamu alaikum.